Good morning, friends. Once again, I welcome you all for another lecture on the course Microprocessors and Microcontrollers. In this class, I am going to explain about memory organization of 8051 microcontroller. We know that 8051 microcontroller may have inbuilt memories. Those we consider as internal memories. So, 8051 microcontroller have an internal data memory as well as internal program memory. So, internal data memory of size 128 bytes and internal program memory of size 4 kilobytes. So, don't confuse the friends. Data memory is nothing but random access memory and program memory is nothing but read-only memory. Wherever I talk about data memory, just you substitute that with RAM, and wherever I discussed program memory, just you substitute that with read-only memory. So, your 8051 has inbuilt data memory of size 128 bytes RAM and program memory of size 4 kilobytes ROM. Whenever the user feels this memory is not sufficient for their application, then what the user can do is, the user can go and connect external memories to our 8051. So that incident, your 8051 may also support external data memory as well as a program memory. Data memory of size 64 kilobytes, again it is RAM, random access memory, and it can also support another 64 kilobytes of program memory, which is read-only memory ROM. So I repeat, once the user feels this internal memory is not sufficient for their application, then only they can go for external memories. Your 8051 supports 64 kilobytes of data memory as well as 64 kilobytes of program memory. So once you are observing this, our 8051 supports Harvard memory organization. Harvard memory organization. That means we are using two separate buses to communicating with these two memories. To communicating with the data memory, we are using one bus, and to communicating with the program memory, we are using another bus. Once a controller or a processor will maintain the separate buses to communicating with the data memory and the program memory separately, that structure is called Harvard memory organization or Harvard memory structure. So that you have to remember, friends. Then, first I would like to discuss about internal memory. Internal memory. We know that our internal memory, both the data memory was present and then program memory was present. First we will go and see about data memory. So see here, friends, we know that our internal data memory, a RAM of size 128 bytes. That available 128 bytes of RAM can be divided into three partitions like this. The first partition, that is 32 bytes, we consider as register banks. First 32 bytes we consider as register banks. Their addresses is from 00H to 1FH. And the second partition of my internal RAM is bit/byte addressable memory area. Under this there are 16 bytes are allocated. Their address range is from 20H to 2FH. And the last partition is considered as general memory of size 80 bytes, whose addresses is in the range from 30H to 7FH. That means totally our internal RAM addresses is from 00H to 7FH. That means 00H is equivalent to decimal value 0 and 7FH is equivalent to 127. The range is from 0 to 127. Total is equal to 128. Total is 128. So our internal data memory RAM is divided into like this three partitions. Next we can go and see much more in detailed way about what this first partition register bank, the second partition bit/byte addressable memory like this. Alright. See here, friends, this is our internal RAM 128 byte structure. 128 byte structure. So this is my first partition. We can call as register banks. These here I can call as working registers. Working registers. So here these 4 register banks are present. That is a bank 0, bank 1, bank 2 and bank 3. Under each bank there are 8 bytes or 8 8-bit registers. Those registers name is from R0 to R7. The same names are repeats in bank 1, bank 2 and bank 3 also. In order to distinguish R0 register present in bank 0 with R0 register present in bank 1, it is only possible with the register internal addresses. R0 bank 0 address is 00H, R0 bank 1 address is 08H. Similarly, R0 bank 2 address is 10H and R0 bank 3 address is 18H. Here these banks register names are same, but their addresses are different. And one more important thing is, if you are observing the entire architecture of 8051, we didn't found more number of working registers or general purpose registers. So here what we can do is, these are register bank or registers we consider as a working register for 8051, or these are 32 registers we consider as general purpose registers of 8051. Along with these 32 registers, A and B registers of our 8051, by combining of those 2 with these 32, total you may get 34 8-bit registers. These are 34 8-bit registers we consider as general purpose registers of 8051. And one more important thing is, here the register names are same, so that it is not possible to us at a time we can go and access all these 4 register banks. Only the possibility is we can access only 1 bank registers at a time. In order to selection of these register banks, we have 2 dedicated bits are present in program status for PSW of 8051 with the help of bits RS1 and RS0. So we have a register bank selection bits RS1 and RS0. These 2 are set to 0 0. Then we select a register bank 0, that is this, for the internal operation of 8051. Then these 2 bits are set to 0 1. We select a register bank 1. That means we are going to use only this particular area of registers. And if it is set to 1 0, then we are selecting register bank 2, that is from this area. And if it is set to 1 1, you can go and select register bank 3. That is, we are using this particular area. So these are registers we can use a general purpose. General purpose in the sense, these registers are suitable to hold either data or an address or a results. That is, purely depends on user interest. I repeat, general purpose register in the sense, the register is suitable to store either data or an address or results. The usage of these registers is purely depends on user interest. So that is about the first partition. And coming to the second partition is called bit/byte addressable memory of size is 16 bytes. See here bytes, there are total 16 addresses, that is from 20 to 2F. This 20 to 2F we consider as byte address. This is called as byte address. If you go and take each and every byte, there are again 8 bits. Each and every bit has its own address. If you took this particular byte address 20H, which may have 8 bits, each bit have an address. The first bit address is 00H and last bit address is 07H. Similarly, if you go for next byte, the first bit address is 0H and last bit address is 0F. Like this, in these 16 bytes, you may found a total 128 bits, because 16 into 8 bits, which is equal to 128 bits. If you are giving an address for these 128 bits, we start from 00H and we finish it at 7FH. See here guys, this is a 00H is the first bit address and this is a 7FH last bit address. Here there is a doubt in our mind, so why we have this type of addresses? The reason for this is, friends, Your 8051 not only can do their operation on a bytes, it can do their operations on bits also. Whenever it want to do an operation on a bits, for bit related operations, the carry flag becoming as accumulator. I repeat, for bit related operations which are performed in 8051, carry flag is act as accumulator. But for byte related operations in 8051, register A is act as accumulator. We know that. Once you are doing a bit related operation, our operands are bits. We know that in our 8051, some of our registers are bit addressable registers and some of them are byte addressable registers. Bit addressable registers in the sense that entire register have a byte address as well as the bits what we have in that register, each and every bit have its own address also. Those are bits we may use it as an operands for bit related operations. So this particular 16 bytes of area of our random access memory is very useful for me doing of bit related operations in 8051. So 32 bytes we come across this register banks, 16 bytes we come across in this second partition, that was a bit slash byte addressable area. Total 48 bytes are over. Out of 128 bytes, we left with 80 bytes. Those 80 bytes of memory we consider as a general purpose memory or user memory. The user can go and use to store his or her information in these 80 bytes. That depends on the user interest. So this is about our internal random access memory or a data memory. And coming to the special function registers which are present in our 8051. So once you remember friends architecture of 8051, one block is like this. One block is like this. The title of the block is like this, SFRs and internal RAM. SFRs and internal RAM. The time I clearly told you that the whole block size is equal to 256 bytes. That means the address range is from 00H to FFH. 00H to FFH. So these are 256 bytes we split it into two halves. One half is considered as an internal RAM. For that we are allocating 128 bytes. Their address is from 00H to 7FH. Just now we are discussing about it. And from 80H onwards, 80H to FFH, these addresses are allocated to special function registers. In your 8051, there are different special function registers. These special function registers, some of them are byte addressable registers and some of them are bit addressable registers. So if I want to identify the register is bit addressable or byte addressable, see here guys, in a function I have used this star mark. That star mark indicates that corresponding register is a bit addressable register. And one more thing is, in 8051 microcontroller, what are the registers we identified? Those registers we can call into our program by using the name of our register or by using its internal address. We have that flexibility. So in this table, I can go and provide the register name, the functionality of it, and what its internal address was. The first one is register A. In architecture, I clearly mentioned this A is called primary accumulator and whose address is 0E0H. And another one is a B register. We can call that is a secondary accumulator whose address is 0F0H. Both are the bit addressable registers. And thereafter DPL means a data pointer register, lower byte whose address is 82H. Next DPH means data pointer higher byte whose address is 83H. These two are the byte addressable. The combination of these two, we can get a DPTR register, data pointer register. And next one is SP, means a stack pointer whose address is 81H. TCON means a timer control register. It is again one of the bit addressable register. Address is 80H. And next is the TMON register. It is not a bit addressable. It is a byte addressable register. There is no star here. Address is 89H. TMON means timer mode selection register. And next is SCON, means a serial control register. Again, it is a bit addressable register whose address is 98H. and one more register is SBUF, means serial buffer register, whose address is 99H. Again, it is not a bit addressable register. These are the sum of special function registers, and these are also special function registers which we found in 8051. So PCON means power control register, whose address is 87H, and IE is nothing but interrupt enable register, again bit addressable, whose address is 0A8H. IP means interrupt priority register, again bit addressable, it is 0B8H was the internal address. So port 0, port 1, port 2, port 3. Just now we discussed in the pin configuration of 8051. Port 0, input output port, LAN 0. So bit addressable 80H, 90H, 0A0H, 0B0H, as well as PSW means program status port, again bit addressable, which we can consider as a flag register of 8051. So whose address is 0D0H. Later timer related registers TL0, TH0. These are TL0 is nothing but timer 0 lower byte register. TH0 is nothing but a timer 0 higher byte register. And TL1 is a timer 1 lower byte register. TH1 is a timer 1 higher byte register. These are the internal addresses. So this is about special function registers. And coming to the next guys, program memory, which is internal program memory of our 8051. We know that the internal program memory of size 4 kilobytes in our 8051. So this is my internal program memory, 4 kilobytes, whose initial address is 40H, and my last address is 04FH. Sorry, 0FFH. So 0FFH is ending address of my internal program memory, and 40H is nothing but starting address of my internal program memory. So these are the 4 kilobytes of internal read-only memory. What is the job of this? So whose address is from? I told you that 40H to 0FFH. This internal program memory is used to store the system files of our 8051. That means the system related programs, the programs which are necessary for proper functioning of my 8051. Those programs we can consider as system files. Those system files are stored in this internal read-only memory. Not only that, what are the data we consider as a constants? That data is also stored in this internal read-only memory. So I repeat, this internal read-only memory is used to store two types of information. Number one is system files, that is nothing but the programs which are necessary for proper working of our 8051. Those programs we consider as system files. Those are stored in this internal program memory. Not only that, it is also used to store constant data. The data which we consider as a constant, those are also stored in this internal program memory. And in order to access the instructions or codes from this program memory, we took the help of a register called program counter PC. Program counter PC is used to guard access the codes of this program memory one by one. The time I took the help of this program counter PC. So this is about my internal program memory. And next coming to, it is very important friends, that is external memories interfacing to our 8051. I am already told you guys at the beginning of this concept, whenever the user feels the inbuilt memories of 8051 is not sufficient for their application, then what they will do is they externally connect 64 kilobytes of program memory as well as another 64 kilobytes of data memory. So how they can connect? So that I am going to explain now. See here friends, whenever my 8051 want to communicating with either external program memory or with external data memory, the time node of my external access A bar signal must be active. I am already told you friends, when I am talking about pin configuration, about a signal A bar. So A bar means external access. If this signal is active, node of our controller gone communicating with external memories, so that this signal is connected to ground. And next thing is, here I was going to connect 64 kilobytes of read-only memory, 64 kilobytes of random access memory. In order to address a location in a 64 kilobytes of ROM or a location in 64 kilobytes of RAM, I definitely need a 16-bit address because 2 power 16 is equal to 64K. In order to address a location either in this or in this, total I need a 16-bit address because 2 power 16 is equal to 64K. In our 8051, you may identify that dedicated higher order 8 address lines, that was A8 to A15. We are getting that from port 2. The port 2 signals have an alternate function is they are act as a dedicated higher order 8 address lines A0 to A15. So that those 8 address lines are directly connected to both my read-only memory as well as random access memory. Don't consider, guys, these address lines are connecting from this ROM to RAM. These are overlapping connection. So these 8 address lines, that is A8 to A15, are connected to both the read-only memory as well as random access memory in parallel. And next we need lower order 8 address lines, that is A7 to A0. But in 8051, those lines are not dedicated. Those lines are multiplexing with data lines D7 to D0. The multiplexed bus we are getting is AD7 to AD0. So these are those 8 lines. Now what we need is, we need the dedicated address lines from this. That means you can convert this AD0 to AD7 as A0 to A7. That we do with the help of an address latch whose IC number is 74LS373. So for this address latch, I was giving this multiplex address and data lines as an input, and to enable this latch I'll use ALE signal. Once this latch is active, then it will accept what is the data that was present on these input lines. The same thing it will produce as at an output, and the output of these latch is purely an address information, that is A0 to A7. So see here, guys, for this latch enable signal is active low, but the enable signal for address latch is ALE, which is an active high signal. To convert them, it is into active low with the help of this NOT gate. If I make logic 1 here, the output of this NOT gate is 0, then this latch was enabled, then the information present on AD0 to AD7 simply accepted by this, and it will present an output. Just you remember, friends, the functionality of ALE signal in a pin configuration concept. The terminal clearly told you, friends, that is, if ALE is equal to 1, then these are multiplexer address and data lines becoming as dedicated address lines. So that's why it is happened. ALE is 1, that means ALE signal is active. It passes through a NOT gate, it will become 0. Then that is a required signal to enable this latch. Then it will accept what is there, the input side of this latch, and it will present at an output. That time here we may get dedicated address lines information, that is A7 to A0. The same thing I was applied to both the read-only memory as well as random access memory in parallel. If once this ALE signal is 0, then output of this NOT gate becomes 0. The time this latch was disabled. That means it can't accept any input. So that time these lines are simply act as dedicated data lines. See here, guys, these are the dedicated data lines which are connected to both the read-only memory as well as random access memory D0 to D7, D0 to D7. So one thing is here, the direction of a data lines is not inward for this, because always we do only one operation on ROM, then always we read something from it, the readed data goes to the controller like this. But coming to on REM, we can do both the read as well as the write. If you are sending something from a controller to this, the path is like this. Once you are reading something from this, you can go into the data like this. So that here the direction of this REM is like this. Now if you want to do either read operation on this ROM, or if you want to do read or write operation on this REM, we need a chip select signals. So here, in order to read something from any location of this ROM, it needs a OE bar signal. That means out enable bar signal. We know that from pin configuration concept, The PSEN bar signal, that is a program store enable or program strobe enable signal, is act as enable signal for external program memory or ROM. See here friends, that's why PSEN bar is directly connected to OE bar. Once if I want to read something from this, the time I was activating this PSEN bar, then this when is active, then it will accept an address and it will send a data to controller. And coming to the REM case, if I want to read or write, I can do any one of operation on a selected location of REM. Which operation my controller want to do, for that indication, my controller issues a read bar as well as a write bar control signal to it. Read bar signal is connected to out enable signal, OE bar, and WR signal is used to write enable signal. With the help of that, I can go and do either read or write operation on this external random access memory. I hope you understand this external memory interface. So I hope friends you can understand the memory organization concept of 8051. Thank you for patient listening. In the next class, I would like to discuss one more important topic. Thank you once again for patient listening.